Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. You know, behind me, that's one of my biggest fans. Hey everybody, come on in here. Coming to you at a non-standard time, once again, because I'm in a different time zone. I apologize for that tweet that I tweeted yesterday of my vacation here, because I know it made a lot of people feel bad if you're in cold weather, but I had to do it anyway. All right, come on in here. It's time for the simultaneous sip. It doesn't matter if you've got a cup, a mug, a thermos, a stein, a chalice, any kind of a container. Put your favorite liquid in there. I like coffee. And join me for the simultaneous sip. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, oh, hello. Didn't mean to do that. So let's talk about a few things in the news. So I understand that Adam Schiff is going to open up a whole bunch of, and I guess the Democratic House is going to open up a whole bunch of investigations into the president's personal finances on Russia. What does that tell you? Reading between the lines. Everybody, read between the lines. The Democratic House is opening up a whole bunch of investigations on Trump's taxes and his business dealings with Russia. What did you just learn by the fact that the House opened up all those investigations? You just learned that the Democrats don't believe Mueller has anything. Am I wrong? If the Democrats believed that Mueller was going to put the hammer down and that Mueller had the goods, would they open up 17 unnecessary investigations for a president that would be certainly impeached, if not arrested immediately? Yeah, I think the fact that the Democrats are going with a whole bunch of new annoying investigations probably indicates that the Democrats themselves believe Mueller doesn't have anything. Because if he did, do you really need to do anything else? You just wait a few weeks, get everything you want. Now, that's certainly not any kind of a guarantee that I know what's in their head, but it doesn't make sense under any other scenario. If you were sure that Mueller had the goods, or even if you thought there was a good chance, wouldn't you wait a few weeks? It's a lot of work to get all cranked up to do more investigations when Mueller would have already found out what's happening in Russia. To me, it's a signal that they know the, let's see, they know the clip is empty. So that's horrible. Now, I have to tell you that when I read the news in CNN, and of course the front page of CNN's website is just all about the extra investigations. It's going to be investigation palooza. Now, as you know, CNN loves their investigations because it gives them something to jabber about all day long. And how do they talk about it? They talk about it doing the if news. You know, the if news? If true, this is big. If there's any problem in those taxes, the president's in trouble. If he had any business dealings with Russia, we'll find them. If. So it's the if news coming up. But I got to tell you, when I saw this is obviously the new push is going to be about these investigations, because they've sort of run out of other material. Is it my imagination, or let me ask you this question. It wasn't long ago, maybe a year ago, when Democrats were talking seriously, as in no joke, the president has mental problems and he's should be removed for office for incompetence and he could not possibly continue in this job. Wasn't that only a year ago? Why did they stop saying that? if you think your president is actually crazy and actually needs to be removed for office because he's actually mentally unstable, do you make noise about it for a couple months, and then if nothing happens, you say, well, we gave it our best try. We gave it our best shot. Hey, do you know what? You can't spell Schiff without if. You can't spell Schiff without if. Sorry, I just got sidetracked by my own clever observation. There's no Schiff without if. All right, so, but my point is, if it used to be the biggest priority in the world to get rid of this president because he's mentally unstable, why do you stop talking about that? What would be the justification for saying, well, we made some noise about it. I guess people didn't want to remove him. Yes, he is crazy. Yes, we're actually quite sure that he's mentally unstable, but we've decided that's not a priority anymore. It's just not a priority. So I think we can put to bed that they ever believed he was mentally unstable, at least in any serious way. So we know that that was crazy. It looks like the Mueller investigation, they don't believe is going to come up with anything. The Don Jr. meeting in which he had the phone call with the block number, that we know is a big old nothing. Do you remember the other things we were worried about? We were worried about let's go down the list of things that but the Democrats were worried about. They were worried that the economy would tank. What's the biggest thing that they complain about the economy now? The biggest complaint about the economy is that it's a tremendous economy and we're not giving enough credit to Obama for getting the economy running strongly. Now, I've said before many times, and I'll say again, I too give credit to Obama for the economy. So that, what he did to get us from the brink of total destruction to a solid and growing base cannot be ignored. If we're going to give any president credit for the economy, if you've got a two-term president and the economy's up, that's got to be on the president. Likewise, we've got 2 years of this new president, and you can't ignore that the economy is better than it's ever been, ever. So somebody says, you lost me. I tell you, if you can't listen to an objective statement that the economy was good under Obama and improving, if that's too much for you and you're out, I'm out. There are people in the comments saying, I'm out. You've gone too far now. You lost me. Anyway, that's funny. I would like to have fewer people watching my Periscopes who can't handle the fact that maybe another president did something right. All right, so they gave up on he's going to ruin the economy, talking about Trump. So that was one belief. They're giving up, it looks like, on the Mueller investigation. They're kind of giving up on that Russia made any serious difference to the election. They're giving up, I think, that Trump would be a person who would start wars. Wasn't one of the things they were afraid of is like, my God, he's going to start wars. No, nothing like that. Do you remember he was going to be the anti-gay president? Because a lot of the LGBTQ community was worried. Well, what was one of the big focuses of his State of the Union? Eradicating AIDS. So he went hard at AIDS. I don't know if anybody saw that coming, right? So I think Trump has been the most, in a weird way, maybe the most pro-LGBTQ president, in part because he's the current president. And I think you could say that most of the presidents have sort of evolved as time has evolved. So, realistically speaking, whoever was president today would probably be the most evolved president on that topic just because it's today. That just happens to be Trump. He just happens to be the president, and he happens to be the most evolved president on LGBTQ. The fact that he's a Republican doesn't seem to make any difference. Now, I've said this before, and this is one of those reframing things that make some people's minds spin. If you wanted to have a more pro-LGBTQ world, and by pro, let's say just everybody's equal, not putting anybody ahead, you would mostly want to have convinced conservatives, because the conservatives are the ones who had issues with the LGBTQ community. Trump is the one who convinces his own side, because the left didn't need any convincing. They were already pro-LGBTQ, and if there were any questions, it was more on the conservative side. Trump comes into office, and who does he persuade? He doesn't persuade the left, as we can obviously see. They haven't changed in any serious way. But you just don't even hear anybody on the right saying anti-LGBTQ stuff. It just completely went away. And I think probably one of the biggest sort of stealth accomplishments of this president is that by being so comfortable from the start, being so comfortable from the very first day with all things LGBTQ, marriage is its special question, but I think that's settled law at this point. I think that he changes. Yeah, I think that Trump changes the tone on the right in a way that the left should like, but probably doesn't. The military situation is the most special case of all special cases, meaning that the military explicitly has the right to discriminate. So you can't compare the military to any other situation. The military has the explicit right to discriminate when it makes sense. Now, they could be wrong about when it makes sense, but if the argument is that there's any readiness or extra expense, I'm not the expert on that. So if the argument is based on practical stuff, and the practical stuff is, hey, we think this community will have more medical issues, and that would affect readiness, that's either true or false. That's either true or false. If it's false, then we should not be making rules around false facts. If it's true, then the military has every right to discriminate. They discriminate against people with all kinds of situations. At times, you come off as quite pompous, somebody says. Are you telling me there are times I do not come off as pompous? I think when I come off as pompous, you're just saying that I disagree with you, because it feels that way. Because when I agree with you with confidence, what do you say? If I confidently agree with you, do you ever say that guy's pompous? No, you say that guy's pretty smart because he agrees with me. What do you say when I say with exactly the same level of confidence that there's something that you think that's not quite true? Well, you say, well, that guy's arrogant. What an arrogant douche. It's kind of all the same. I say everything with the same degree of confidence that I probably shouldn't have. Let's talk about confidence. I read about this in my upcoming book called Loser Think. And so here's a little mini lesson I'll insert here. If you believe that your ego is who you are, then I would say you're disadvantaged in life. Because if you're managing to protect your ego, you're probably making all the wrong choices. But if you use your ego as a tool that you can dial up when you want to and dial down when you want to, then you're probably in a good place. I would argue that President Trump uses his ego as a tool, because you've seen him go into situations where you know he will be mocked mercilessly, and he seems to be willing to do it anyway. You've seen him say, I can take the heat, and sure enough, he can take the heat. So the president, as completely opposite of what people say about him, which is he's narcissistic, we observe that he seems to use his ego as a tool. When it's important to say that his accomplishments were great and he'd be a great president and all the things the candidates say, he dials it up and tells the world he's the greatest thing ever, which is actually quite useful. It's a tool. And then when he needs to take the heat for something, instead of worrying about how it will make him look, he just takes the heat. It doesn't matter how horrible the heat is. He just goes and he takes it. So that's a good model. You will note that I do the same. So when you hear me talking in ways that you think are too confident, what are the other things people say? Narcissistic, well, less that in this case. Too confident, arrogant, and whatever the other word was used here. That's because of what I'm doing. Do you know how annoying it would be? Do you know how annoying it would be? Pompous, yes. Do you know how annoying it would be if I said everything with uncertainty? You would hate it. So the venue I'm in is about talking confidently about things, because that's part of the show. When I'm wrong, and you saw the classic example of it with the Covington kids, my first opinion was the wrong opinion, and I immediately apologized and corrected. But was I embarrassed? Was I embarrassed about being so spectacularly wrong in public? No, not at all. Because, like the president, I treat my ego as a tool. In that case, my ego would have been the wrong tool for the job. The right tool for the job was an immediate apology with a correction. That was the right tool for the job, so I used that tool. The right tool for this job is to give you my opinions with confidence, because you wouldn't like it any other way. And when I say things you don't like, that's part of the show. Saying stuff you don't like is why you watch this Periscope. People don't watch this Periscope to just hear stuff they already agree with. There are other shows that give you that. This isn't it. All right. What else did I say I was going to talk about? After I start the Periscope, I've got the little title subjects, and Joy Behar. So it turns out that there were quite a few people who at one time in their life have worn some kind of blackface costume, and Joy Behar is the latest one. Now, she might get a pass for two reasons. One, of course, she's a famous liberal, and I don't think anybody thinks she's an actual racist. So it should matter that people know for sure you're not a racist. Like, that should matter, right? And again, here's something you don't like to hear. I know you don't want to hear that anybody would go soft on the people you don't like. But that should matter. It should matter to everybody. Will she get in trouble for it? Probably not. Now, part of what she did, which is slightly different, is she used a darker makeup, which is different than blackface, at least different only in the color, I suppose. But that might be enough. Might be enough for her to get away with it. Oh God, I'd love to see what Whoopi Goldberg says. I'm sure they'll talk about it. Anyway, let's talk about Virginia. So I feel like I'm getting to this Virginia thing late because everybody's already made all the good jokes and said all the things they can. But I swear to God, I had literally forgotten that the governor had said what he said about late-term abortions. Where this all started with the governor talking about the late-term abortions. And quite literally, I'd forgotten because of this blackface stuff. It just took over all the news. And then the lieutenant governor's accusations, and then you've got the the attorney general, which is the funniest. I think the attorney general just took this to a whole new level of funny, because he actually called for the governors to step down, and then he gets up. You said he was misquoted. Yes. The governor was misquoted is probably, that's not exactly the wrong, misquoted is not exactly what happened, because it wasn't about the exact words. It was that the meaning out of context was taken wrong. So I'm going to give you a comparison that you're not going to like. Do you know how I always talk about the Charlottesville hoax and how the news reports that when the president said there are fine people on both sides, what he was talking about was the both sides of the statue question, but the news illegitimately reported that he was talking about the white supremacists being fine people. That's still reported like it's a fact on CNN, and it's just not. It's just clearly not a fact. Likewise, something analogous to that's happening with this late-term abortion stuff. If you go to the New York Times, for example, they will tell you in clear language that everything you thought about that was fake news. It has been fact-checked, and the real news is that the only situations where these late-term abortions happen, typically they only happen like a little bit after the cutoff for the legal abortions, the early-term abortions. So they don't typically happen, it would be the rarest thing in the world to have a late-term abortion, the day you were going to deliver, right? So what late-term means is just not early, but it could be just slightly later than is legal. So that would be the majority of them. And in most of those cases, there would be a non-viable fetus, meaning that they could deliver it, but it's just going to die. It doesn't have any chance of living. So the right is still reporting on this, serious people, as though the law intended, and intention is the important point here, that anybody who was involved with the law intended that a woman would have the right to kill a baby after it's born for any reason. That they could just not feed it or something and just let it die on the table there. That was never true. All right? It is true, and a lot of you are going to argue with me, just like people argue about Charlottesville. But those of you who believe that governor was in favor of letting a live baby that could have a chance of living, let that baby die, that was not contemplated. So that's fake news on both sides. And again, let me be clear, I'm not giving you my opinion on abortion. I'm just telling you that the right continuously misrepresents what that law was about in exactly the same way the left misrepresents Charlottesville. Mental illness allowed? No. Mental health? Yeah. So the people who are saying, read the bill, I did. I read it. I read the language that mattered, and it's pretty clear that it's just a Charlottesville example. Yeah, the governor was uninformed and awkward, and he totally blew how he described it. And it's also true that the law seems poorly written. So you're taking the fact that he was an idiot of the way he described it, and that the law itself was bad. So the letter of the law seemed to allow things that you wouldn't want to allow, but that clearly was nobody's intention. The letter of the law counts. Yeah, that's why it was defeated. The letter of the law counts, and that's probably a big reason why it was defeated, because the letter of the law counts. But he can moonwalk, as somebody says. Yeah, exactly. She said abortion up to time of birth. That is correct. So I know you're still flailing to make this true. because you're looking for the technicality. But wait, she actually said those words. And wait, the words on that bill actually say that. And of context, true. And certainly it was nobody's intention that a live baby would be born and then somebody would say, you know, I'll have mental illness if this baby continues to live, so maybe we should kill the baby to take care of my mental illness. That never happened. And that's what a lot of people on the right believe happened. All right, let's play this game, because I really want you to get mad at me now. Tell me a topic, and I'll tell you if it's conspiracy theory or true. You want to play this game? I'll see it a few while you're thinking about it. The Cuban embassy sonic weapon. I say conspiracy theory, or at least fake news. Here's another one. Charlottesville. Charlottesville, fake news. He was talking about the statues. How about the idea that we can tax the rich enough to pay for health care? Fake news. What about chemtrails? Fake news. Moon landing. True. I'm definitely not on the Sandy Hook conspiracy theory. 9/11. True. 9/11 true in the sense that it was bin Laden. There's definitely a question about Building 5. I'll just say I don't believe the conspiracy theories. Vegas shooting was exactly what it looked like. It was a guy who wanted to show us he was evil and he wanted to die. Venezuela. Rothschilds, I don't believe any of the Rothschild stuff. Global warming. That's its own topic because I'm still in the middle of investigating that. New York State abortion law, true or fake? Well, there's a real law. I'm not sure which is the fake part. Trump tax returns, bombshell or nothing? Both. There will be plenty of fake bombshells in there, but probably nothing real. Chemtrails are fake. Q is fake. Deep state is true-ish, but maybe not in the sense of a massive group that has meetings. I think they all just know what they want, and there's some embedded people who act as though the deep state. RGB, yeah, Ruth Gator Binsberg is alive. Oh, it's Building 7 is the sketchy one. Yeah, Building 7, I've got my questions about that. Harvard scientist alien ship. I don't know about that one. FISA-gate. Well, on the Mueller investigation, here's the thing. You can't rule out that the deep, so-called deep state people in the FBI believed what they were doing. So some of it might have been they believed something was there, but we saw that email that at least one of them didn't think there was something there. Anyway, CIA controls media. True. I would say that the CIA controlling the media, or at least controlling members of the media to get their stories out, is true. Vaccines causing autism, not true. North Korea denuked. No, they have not yet denuked. North Korea is still making missiles, unknown, but possibly true. Trilateral Commission, you mean JFK? Jussie Smollett, I don't want to get sued for, I'll say that carefully. The Jussie Smollett story, based on what we know, it would be deeply unlikely that it's true, but not impossible. Deeply unlikely. Is Brennan going to jail? Unlikely. Birth certificate. No comment. I will say that Obama is definitely a citizen. So that part I'll say. Clinton body count, well, certainly the entire body count would be fake news. If anybody was ever killed by a Clinton associate in the entire time they've been in office, I don't know, you could totally, I don't know if you could rule that out, but I don't rule it in. Bigfoot, no. EMF pollution, I don't know that situation. And earthquake machines, I don't think so. Yeah, I think Mueller will come up with nothing important anyway. Kevin Spacey comeback, I don't know how. Uranium One, fake news. Seth Rich, I have to be careful on Seth Rich. People get sued for saying stuff about that. I'll say you can't rule out that it was just one of those unexplained things, or maybe there was some sketchy police work. But the far more likely the likely explanation for things like the Seth Rich story, if you're just looking at it from the outside, the likely explanation is things that you didn't think of. It could have been a crazy guy, it could have been, a jilted lover, it could have been anything. So, Justice Scalia. Well, Justice Scalia, I'd say that's, I'll keep that an open question. That one, I don't believe that he was murdered, but I also wouldn't rule it out. All right, we talked about Seth Rich. I don't know what Project Merlin is. Russia hacked Clinton emails. Possible, but not confirmed, in my opinion. MK Ultra. What was MK Ultra? Was that where they were? Was MK Ultra where the CIA was affecting the news? I forget what that one was. All right. Aliens, the Young Turks. Epstein stories true? Well, he's pleaded guilty to his stories. I read the Jeffrey Epstein, a book about it, and that is, you have no idea how much happened in that Jeffrey Epstein story. Like, you know what he was accused of, but when you read the book, the scale of it was astonishing. Why do government officials go to Antarctica? I don't know. The My Pillow guy. What about the My Pillow guy? What's that got? Is there a conspiracy about that? Shiva actually invented email. Well, there's documentation to that effect. Pedogate. I don't know of anybody specifically who's a pedophile. Mind control, of course. Mind control definitely exists. We're all experiencing it. Yeah, mind control is definitely real. I mean, that's based on solid science. Remote viewing. You know what? I don't know if I can tell you this. I'm trying to figure out a way I can tell you something that I've never told anybody. Well, I've never said it publicly anyway. I'll put it this way. How can I say this? I guess I can't tell you. I'll tell you this. I know more about remote viewing than almost anybody in the world. So, I know that's a strange claim, but I'll say it again because it's true. I know more about remote viewing and whether it's true than almost anybody in the world. Because I'll just tell you, I got an insider's look at that situation, and that's all I'm going to tell you. The Podesta artwork. Yeah, the Podesta artwork certainly raises some questions about their, at least how their minds work, but that's as far as it goes. Talk to us about Julian Assange. I don't fully understand the Julian Assange situation. So there's something about the whole Julian Assange thing that I don't quite understand. Genetic diseases, 23andMe as weapons. I doubt that. Or are you saying that 23andMe could tell you what kind of genetic weapon you could use on what individuals? That's probably technically true. But let me just say this about remote viewing. I don't believe it's true. So, I will tell you it's been used, and that there are claims of incredible accuracy. So that part we know. We know remote viewing was tested by the government, and we know that there are claims of it being accurate and useful. But my view is that it is not what you think. No, I was never a guinea pig. Chelsea Clinton is an illegitimate child of Hillary and Webb Hubble. If you see the photos of Webb Hubble and Chelsea, it's hard to believe he's not the dad. But I wasn't there. So if you had to bet on one, I'd bet on that one. Huma, Hillary, and Weinstein. I don't know what that conspiracy is. Snowden. I'm not up on Snowden. I don't have an opinion on that. Did Russia really hack the DNC? They might have. The farthest you can go is that's possible. But it's also possible it was somebody who just looked like they came out of Russia. It's also possible people, I'd say anything's possible in the emails. Do penguins actually march? Vaccines do not cause autism. That would be my opinion. Now, I don't think there's any chance Ruth Bader Ginsburg is dead. Now, the most interesting theory is that she's being kept alive until it's Trump's final year of this term, so that the Congress can hold it up and say, hey, we got to wait for the next president. Yeah, we talked about the birth certificate. I will just say that Obama is definitely a citizen. But if you're talking about the document itself, no comment. Princess Diana, I think that was just a tragic accident. Danny Williams, I would say, is almost certainly the son of Bill Clinton. That would be my belief. If you've seen the pictures and heard the stories. Trump's childhood pastor was the Power of Positive Thinking guy. That's confirmed. Lowering testosterone in men. What was the context of that? I think it's true that testosterone is lower, and maybe that's soybeans or something. I don't know. Atlantis. Well, it's certainly possible there was a civilization that's now underwater. Sharia patrol cars in New York. Well, I saw a story that said that there are some cars being painted as though they look like police cars. I don't know the details of that. Is the government trying to turn men gay? I'd say no. And Michelle Obama is a man? Probably not. Do you like James Woods? I don't know him. Is Kamala qualified to run? Yes, she is an American citizen. Wouldn't worry about that. I'll just tell you that I don't believe in remote viewing. I don't believe it's real. Norman Vincent Peale, yes, that was Trump's pastor when he was a kid. Oswald, the only shooter? I'm going to say more likely yes than no. The Fire Festival. All right. Spaghetti Monster is real, as far as you know. Okay. I think are there any other conspiracy theories you'd like to? You haven't really done any of the good ones. Is pot a gateway drug? Here's the pot as a gateway drug thing. It probably depends how you measure it. It's probably true that someone who's likely to get into one drug is more likely to come into contact with people who do other drugs, etc. So socially, it probably is. But in terms of chemically, I haven't seen the evidence that doing one makes you want to do the others. But socially, probably yes. Plastics lower testosterone. I wouldn't be surprised. Apparently, we eat a lot of plastic. That can't be good for us. Anything you would change or add to my past books? Yeah, but it'd be kind of boring to mention them here. Do I have ambitions for running for political office one day? I don't know how any sane person could have ambitions to run for politics today. Can you imagine? It's undoable. Until we start giving each other's a pass for stuff that happened 20 years ago, until that happens, I don't know that we're going to get good candidates. The pool is so small. All right. The simulation conspiracy. I think the simulation is most likely true, just statistically. Can we talk about the government shutting down again? I don't know that there would be any reason to shut the government down again, because he's got that, it didn't work the first time. It's not going to work the second time. So I think it's going to be an emergency declaration. Is Trudeau Castro's son? I'm going to say yes. If you've seen the pictures and read the story about the connection between Castro and Trudeau's mother, and then you see young Trudeau and you see pictures of young Castro, they do look like the same guy. The Illuminati. Does the Illuminati exist? In a sense, yes. So the Illuminati is not one organization running the country or the world, depending on how you like it. The Illuminati there are competing powerful forces. So there are competing powerful forces that are sort of like, let's say, 3 or 4 Illuminati. So there's not one Illuminati. There's more like 3 or 4 forces that are powerful enough that they're vying for who's in charge. Was there a Jesus? That's a longer question. Yeah, we talked about World Trade Center 7. Yeah, I think that one's an open question. Could Republican win in California? It'd have to be a pretty special Republican. Oh, here's another one. The one I've been hearing a lot is that climate change is really a globalist conspiracy to transfer wealth. Have you heard that one? There's a video clip in which a woman says nothing like that people keep sending to me to say, here's proof of this elite globalist UN person, some woman, who is saying explicitly that the whole point of climate change is to transfer wealth. And then I play the clip, and she doesn't say that. And then people say, it's right there. And then I look at it and go, I just listened to it. Nothing like that there. She does say something like they're hoping to change the economy of the world. She does say that, but that's what an emphasis on green over carbon fuel would do. It would change the whole economy of the world. So the evidence for the conspiracy theory that the globalists only want climate change to get socialism, the strongest evidence is a clip in which nobody says that. That one's the craziest one. All right. N-Key and Lil, that's funny. Am I a new Christian? I don't know what that is. Well, so rather than answer the question, was there a Jesus, I'll give you the general answer. How many religions are there? And how many of all the religions there are true? Because if any one of them is true, then all of the other religions are just completely made up nonsense. Right? And I'll go to a quote the famous atheist, what's his name? Who's the famous atheist, the British guy? Dworkin, whatever. Anyway, he's got a great quote. He said that as an atheist, the only difference between him and a believer is that the atheist disbelieves one additional religion. Because if you have a religion, you are also a disbeliever of all the other religions that are not your religion. So there's not that much difference between an atheist and a believer in terms of how many religions they each believe. Just one difference. Is Mr. Zackheim doing your new book, Loserthink? He is. Yes, he is. Yeah, so my new book has the same publisher as my very first big bestseller, The Dilbert Principle, and my other recent books as well, Win Bigly as well. Christopher Hitchens. What is Christopher Hitchens? Oh, people are saying, no, he's not the atheist I was thinking of, Dawkins. I was thinking of Dawkins. Is IQ a valid measure? Taleb disagrees with Peterson. I haven't caught the nuance of that disagreement, but I'll give you my opinion. My opinion is that a very small percentage of the smart people do all of the important things that smart people have to do. Meaning that you and I, at least most of you, this is a generality, but you and I are not inventing anything. You and I are not the greatest scientists in the world. So would it matter if your IQ is 10 points higher than mine? Does that matter? Because neither of us are using, our IQ in any serious way. If you can support yourself, you're probably smart enough. So I would say maybe we put too much emphasis on it, but IQ is a real thing. I mean, it's unambiguously true that smarter people have an advantage. That part doesn't seem controversial at all. All right. Jesus loves me, somebody says. Good to know. All right, I think I've said enough. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye for now.